All right, guys, so let's get going on part 2 here. So we're going to pick up where we left off. We're going to get our current turn label up here aligned, and then we'll start creating our outlets and get some code action happening here with tic-tac-toe. So if you didn't do this in the last video, let's get your label put in the top left corner here. Let's make sure we're at 50 by 50. Okay, we can go ahead and we're going to get rid of the text inside of the label. We're going to center that, and then we can make we'll make it a little bigger. Let's go up to 20. We'll call it 20. Okay, so let's get this aligned so it stays put in that corner. So the first thing we're going to do, actually the only thing we're going to do is go to the pin menu. We're going to put it to the top and to the left. Let's fix our width and height. Let's go ahead and add those 4 constraints, and we should be good. All right, again, it's got the blue lines. I'm not seeing any warnings up there, so all is good. So let's move on here. Okay, so let's go ahead and kind of do the next part, which can be a little cumbersome here, but we got to add a bunch of labels here, or excuse me, a bunch of outlets for the labels and our view. Okay, so we should know how to do this at this point here, but all you need to do is, we're going to go ahead and command drag and just get everything hooked up here. So let's just go ahead. You can fast forward the video as I go ahead and set this up here, but let's go ahead and make sure we call each one label 1, 2, and so on. Okay, just to keep it organized. And then we're going to go, let's go in order. So I'm going to connect that. We're going to go left to right. All right, it's kind of, so this will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so just keep that order so that way we're kind of working along together. Okay, so go ahead and get those set up there. Again, if you can fast forward this video here, because again, this is something you should be able to do no problem at this point of the class here. Okay, so I've got my 9 labels here. We also want to make sure we get our current turn label hooked up, so don't forget about that one. All right, so let's add that here. I'm going to call it current turn label. Okay, then we also need to get an outlet for the UI view here. Okay, so one might be kind of hard to get a hold of here. So if you're having a hard time getting on the UI view, just open up your outline and you can just drag from here. So I'll just take, there's my view, I'm selected. Put that right here. We'll call it game view. Okay, so we should have 9 labels. Okay, or excuse me, 10 labels when you count the current turn and your UI view. Okay, so make sure you have all those hooked up. All right, because without those, the next few steps will not make sense to you. All right, so make sure we've got those all added in here. Okay, so something new we're going to add here. All right, so we're going to add, with this game, we're going to add something called a tap gesture recognizer. Okay, so basically when the user taps the screen, these little labels are going to change. Okay, either X or O based on whose turn it is. So let's go ahead and add a tap gesture recognizer. So let's go to our object library. Just type in tap, and you'll see that the tap gesture recognizer shows up here. Okay, so what you want to do here is just drag this tap gesture recognizer onto our game view here. Okay, and then you'll see that it appears up top here. Okay, right, where it should be here. Okay, so just drag that on there. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to create an outlet for it. Okay, or actually we're going to create an action for it, excuse me. So let's go to our code. Now what you'll need to do is drag from up here. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of did receive memory warning. I'm going to go ahead and control drag down here, change that to an action. All right, and then we'll go ahead and call this one, let's see here, we'll just call it untapped. Okay, so that just would signify that. So go ahead and create that action, okay, and then that's where we're gonna get a lot of our code set up. So at this point, okay, we're set up here. Okay, so our layouts we're hooked up, all our outlets. So we're gonna go into our view controller now. And we're gonna make some stuff happen here. Okay, so the first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create an array of labels here. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do here, okay, so we're above view did load. All right, so make sure you're above view did load here. Go ahead and create a location array. All right, and then this is going to be of type UI label. And then make sure we put that in our brackets to signify that it's an array. Okay, and then we just got to make sure that we initialize things here. So let's put our exclamation point after that. Okay, so basically we've created an array of labels. Okay, so now inside view did load, we're going to essentially get this, we're going to instantiate or turn on the location array. So go ahead and call location array. Okay, and then we're just going to go ahead and add our labels to it. All right, so again, this will get pretty repetitive here. All right, so go ahead and just add the labels that we put in earlier as outlets into this array. So make sure you go in order. Go ahead and do that. Okay, so there's our location array. So when this view loads up, the array is full of these different labels that we can work with here. All right, so now inside of our onTapped is what we want to do here is we want to say, well, what's going to happen? So what do we do when we tap the screen here? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and set that up here. Okay, so we're going to create a variable called selected point. Okay, and then basically what that's going to do is whenever the user taps the screen, it's going to store it in this variable. Okay, so we're going to get the tap of the sender, which is the user. All right, location in view. Oh, I gotta learn how to spell here. There we go. Location in view. This is the one we want. Okay, and then from here, okay, we're a location in view here. We want to call that game view outlet we made here. Okay, so now anytime the user touches that screen, it's going to register that in the selected point here. Okay, so now we got to use something called a for loop. All right, so we're going to go through each label with the line of code. So we're going to loop through this array here. So we're going to go for label in location array. So basically every time we touch the screen, it's going to loop through all these labels here, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through 9. Okay, and then eventually we'll come back here and we'll say, okay, if the selected point's inside of the label, we got to check that. So we're going to use something called a CG point. So if CG point, or excuse me, CG rect, sorry about that, contains points, okay, is what we're looking for here. All right, and then we're going to go ahead and let's get this out of here. Okay, so we're looking for if CG rect contains point is what we are looking for here. Label.frame, comma, selected point. Let's get that in there. Okay, so let's see where we're at right now. Let's check our error and see what's going on here. Oh, let's see. Yes. Yeah, we got to add our curly braces for the if statement. So let's do that just to get the error out of here, and then we'll talk about what we did here. All right, I got 1, 2, many. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Let's get this out of here, I think. There we go. Okay, so what we've done here, so we created basically every time the user is touching the screen, that's going to be saved as selected point. All right, then they're going to loop through the array. So this is every time we touch the screen there, they're going to loop through all of the labels in the location array. And if the point, all right, contains a label, all right, what happens here? All right, so let's go ahead and set that up here. Okay, so if it happens, we're going to go ahead and type in place value into label. And we're going to place, so basically we're going to create this function here in a little bit. That'll come in our next video. Okay, so that's why you're going to get an error, so don't be worried about that. But basically we're going to say if the label, okay, if there's a value in label 1, 2 through whatever in our selected point, we're going to put that value into a label. So basically we're saying if they touch the screen, okay, we're going to either go X or O based on what the label's showing. Okay, so the next video we'll create this function, place a value into each label. And again, we've also got the videos. We've got the screen, or excuse me, the hard copy file on our Moodle site, but this should get you going. All right, so thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.